Where are we at? Did I
That is
record
on
that?
camera.
Ah, jeez.
Quiet on set.
Okay. Brown Girls Grieve Differently, Exodia interview, take one. How was your day today?
Honestly, with this injury, I shouldn't even call it that. My back has been hurting really bad.
Yeah.
Other than that, it was fine. I took a nap, a good nap.
Yeah.
What else? Had a smoothie, ate some food. I'm
Nice.
thinking about food.
Nice.
I think, yeah, food,
For sure. Okay, nice.
good food.
Nice, nice. So, gonna get into these round of questions. Um, feel comfortable. This is a safe space. And again, we're just two friends having a conversation. It's some of the things that we've talked about before in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's one of the things that like I wanted to touch on is like grief and everything that comes with being a black woman and dealing with that.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the first questions that I did want to ask was, when was the last time you actually cried?
Oh, the last time I actually cried, let me see. It was either Tuesday or Monday this week. Yeah.
For sure. Would you mind saying what was about? We don't have to go in detail.
Okay. Well,
Like, what did you experience when you felt that?
I was really sad, but it was also very like eye-opening. And yeah, I just learned about myself in a different way, understanding things that I have been experiencing with new perspectives.
Yeah.
Shout out to my therapist. So yeah, that was definitely a teary moment.
Yeah, I understand. Okay, so along with when was the last time you cried, when was the last time you actually like lost a relationship that was close to you?
I would say the most recent relationship that I lost that was close to me was last June. Yeah.
What did that person mean to you?
They were one of my best friends growing up.
Yeah. Okay. That, because the loss of a best friend is different, than, any type of, like, yeah, you can, like, men come and go, you
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? But your best friend is different.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It hits deeper,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So, I mean, so, like, what did experiencing that and experiencing that grief, what does grief mean to you?
Grief means just a really profound sadness, um, significant loss, um, definitely connected to like a mourning, and yeah, kind of being able to feel an absence.
Absolutely. So, your occupation, comedian and actress.
Yeah.
So, so like, what is some of like the grief that you've experienced within that occupation?
Okay, so I mean, it depends because I think grief can be in relationship to like how closely or how much like how high of an expectation you might have had of something. So like anytime you audition for something and you don't get it, you could grieve proportionate to the expectation. So, if I like rehearsed or auditioned for weeks for a certain role, then that level of grief for being like, passed up on the role could be higher than if I got something last minute and I was just like not as invested in actually getting the part, could be a little bit less, intense. And then comedy is just all grief. No, I'm just kidding. But I think, as somebody who's had like really great shows and had some not so savory shows, it can be just not meeting my expectation of how a performance would look like or how, a joke might land. And those are more like fleeting. I'm definitely somebody who feels like comfortable with big, small, sad emotions. So I feel like I'm able to process micro grief and then let it go. And that is definitely something that helps me build up the capacity or the muscle for when macro grief, I don't know why I'm labeling it that way, but like just a bigger scale, so that it's not too foreign and overwhelming. I feel like I'm very familiar with sadness.
I also wanted to ask you this question. In terms of being a Black woman and being in the entertainment industry,
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we don't want to like just shrink ourselves just to our color and our race and
Mm-hmm.
our ethnicity.
Mm-hmm.
However, unfortunately, it does play a role when we actually are in the industry. So, how have you experienced grief as a Black woman in the entertainment industry?
Can you open that up a little bit more, please?
Yeah, it's a little broad.
Yeah.
But when you're getting cast,
Mm-hmm.
some of the stereotypes, some of the roles that you get,
Mm-hmm.
maybe some mistreatment because of the color of your skin. Is that something that has happened to you? Has there been grief because of your skin while being in the entertainment industry?
Absolutely. And I feel like it's one of those things where, engaging grief as a Black woman in the entertainment industry is very much connected to what my expectations are. So I don't know if that's like a defense mechanism, but, even before deciding to like fully embrace this, desire of mine, I did a lot of research. So I was expecting this kind of, pigeonholing, stereotyping. It's almost similar to any professional industry. My background is in tech, so if you're a Black woman in the tech field, even as a software engineer, I'm not treated or embraced. My ideas, my ingenuity is not as valued. So having that experience and then doing the research and kind of having that expectation, when I had the experience, like presently in this new field, it's not as surprising. It's not as devastating. It's more so of like a confirmation of the reality. It's not a confirmation of my beliefs, right? But it's a confirmation of the society and the institution and the infrastructure that we exist in, that we have socially determined. And I say we broadly. Ain't no Black woman deciding to be, valued less. So I don't know. I don't know how I experience grief in that specific way, because I feel a little bit prepared for the sadness of that reality. I feel like grief almost occurs for me in something unexpected. It's still sad, but it's almost like you're desensitized to the sadness of the state of affairs. Like, you know, it is what it is type of a thing.
Absolutely. So, one of the things that I wanted to touch on is also like, because you said like being prepared, you know, and essentially having that guard when you're going into the industry from having, you know, gone through that in tech and your ideas not being valued and your innovation not being valued. When you face that rejection,
Mm-hmm.
do you feel like there is a level of shame in that rejection?
I don't know if it's shame. It's definitely sadness. So like when I think about even, you know, my experience as a filmmaker, when I think about how some of the things that I express or the ideas or the stories I want to tell and, you know, share are like treated a certain way, it's sad because it matters to me. And it just shifts a lot because in this, as an artist, I definitely anticipate a level of sensitivity, but I also understand now that like my audience is more important to me. So while there may be people who treat my art or my expressions without the level of care and consideration, I have to be able to hold space for myself to observe the fact that they weren't even my intended audience. The people that I create for treat my work with care, respect, consideration, and they value it immensely. And unfortunately, the people in the space, in the industry, in the craft that are not in my audience feel empowered or they feel like they have the authority to, you know, be harmful or negative. And that still has, like, that still hurts and it is still sad. Like, you know, I'm, I will cry about it. I don't feel the need to deny myself that level of disappointment, but I'm able to refocus, I'm able to recenter, and I'm able to like regroup with my audience, with my community, with my peers that I respect and care about, and they respect and care about me. So, yeah, I guess I'm just saying that it doesn't hurt any less. It's just being afforded the space to heal or being afforded the space to speak and express myself through that challenging or painful or difficult, you know, engagement is like what really matters most to me.
Absolutely. I think that, and that's actually like one of my questions, you know, like having the community to be vulnerable,
Mm-hmm.
to fall apart. As a Black woman, do you feel like you can be vulnerable in the entertainment industry?
I can be vulnerable in safe spaces. I can be vulnerable in my community. I don't think I don't think I have the luxury of being vulnerable whenever and wherever. So, as an artist, of course, that transparency and that vulnerability is important. And as a Black woman, having the discernment is really how I keep myself safe and how I keep myself ready to keep doing the work. The industry, in of itself, was not designed or created for me. So it cannot serve me as its primary intention. I have to kind of work within the construct to co-create spaces where I can be served and where I can be vulnerable and where I can expand and express. But the industry inherently, that's not what I understand it to be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So you said being vulnerable within your community. So what does vulnerability look like for you?
Vulnerability looks like I would say vulnerability is the ability to let go of any preconceived notions, judgments, and expectations around showing up as yourself. I would say vulnerability looks like almost exposing yourself and not anticipating or predetermining an outcome or a reaction, and not even trying to influence a certain outcome or reaction, just showing up as is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So with being vulnerable and showing up as is, do you feel like you're able to implement self-care somewhere in that arena when you are vulnerable, especially as a Black woman?
I think as a Black woman, being vulnerable is part of self-care. If you're never able to let your guard down or let go of whatever it is you're carrying, baggage, judgment, expectation, shame, fear, then you're constantly in a defensive posture. And I don't feel like that is taking care of yourself. I feel like being in a defensive posture is a response to whatever environment that you're in. So vulnerability is like a way to, is a response to a safer environment. And I believe Black women are deserving of safe environments and safety where they don't have to be burdened with whatever they're carrying or whatever they've been assigned by society as their baggage. So yeah.
Absolutely. So you mentioned, Black women being deserving of safe spaces
Mm-hmm.
and, something like joy, you know. Do you think that you have your own solid definition of joy? What joy means for you?
What does joy mean to me? Joy is a feeling of happiness, contentment, excitement. Joy feels like having enough, more than enough, maybe. Joy feels like hopefulness or looking towards, a brighter or more expansive outcome or reality. I feel like joy is rejuvenating in some ways, and it's a source of energy. And joy feels like power.
So with you, like, where do you personally find that joy, that release, that power, that recharge and rejuvenation for you? Where would you find that for?
Oh, okay, everywhere. I feel like joy is always accessible for me, whether that's internal or external. It varies. I mean, I can think of 100 million ways that joy presents itself. Sometimes it's just a conversation with a loved one. Sometimes it's a good meal. Sometimes it's a nap. Sometimes it's exercising. Sometimes it's reading a good book. Sometimes it's watching television. Sometimes it's going for a walk. Sometimes it's a long hug. Sometimes it's playing with my dog. Sometimes it's just like a sunny day. Sometimes it's a rainy day. Joy could be like a car ride where, being a passenger princess. I just feel like there are so many like minute things that are connected to joy. A really good shower, washing my hair. What else feels like joy? My heating pad. I mean, it's just like, it's just so like, if you can like find it is, it's just, it could be like the right temperature drink, you know, like hot tea, cold soda. Jesus Christ, warm bread. Yeah. Um, boy. Yeah.
I also have one last question for you.
Okay.
What would you say to the black little girl that's struggling with grief? What's the advice that you would give to her?
Um, I would say to a young black girl who is challenged or struggling with grief to surrender. I feel like we're told or asked to fight so much that it becomes a reflex or second nature. And when I think about myself, like as a young girl who had experienced sadness or grief to, you know, any degree or capacity, like something that helped me was not fighting. You know, just being able to cry it out, scream it out, be sad for like 3 days, because some way, somehow, like the fourth day, you will get up, and not putting too much expectations on how you're supposed to show up or how you're supposed to feel or how you're supposed to behave. You know, I think that in some ways we don't allow young black girls the full range of their humanity or their emotional expansiveness. And there is definitely a strength in surrendering that can be overlooked just in preference of the performance of okayness. So, yeah, surrender.
Absolutely. Well, my friend, would you like to say your last name? Well, your first name, your last name, and what you do.
Okay. My name is Exodia Demosthene, and I am an artist and filmmaker.
Absolutely. Thank you, my love.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you.
Yes, thank you.